right, everybody, welcome back to the Butterfly Effect.
Yay.
I'm so excited to be back with you guys. So, how are you?
Who are you?
I'm Steph. So sorry, everyone.
I'm Liz.
Yeah, we're your hosts for today, and we're really, really excited to jump into this this new topic that we have that we kind of been talking about for quite some time, I think. This is something that we kind of like throw around, like this idea, and we kind of talk about it with older generation, kind of to get their input on it and what they think. So we're really, really excited to kind of jump into this topic and kind of start a conversation.
Yeah.
What I really loved about our first podcast, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it, is it started a conversation with a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people really, like a lot of the things that we said resonated with them, which was really cool. Yeah,
so it was cool to see just a dynamic start, like a conversation start. And I think that's what I really want this podcast to be about, is to start a conversation about certain topics that we all can either, again, like I said in the first one, like learning to agree to disagree or agree with each other, because everyone is going to have an opinion or kind of their view on the topic. And I think it's cool to develop this community where we learn from each other's point of view.
Yeah, I believe in like creating the community that you want to be a part of. And I feel like that's kind of what this podcast is.
Yeah, exactly that. Creating community you want to be a part of. I love that. So if you want to put that on a t-shirt, that is great.
oh my God, are you okay?
Yeah.
You
You just crack me up because you don't say anything, and then all of a sudden you drop like these things of like, create a community you want to be a part of. It's hilarious. If you're an artist and you want to send in your music, message us. We want to hear your stuff. We have a few people that actually messaged us that want to send in their stuff. So
yeah.
If you're an artist, if you're an up and coming artist, send in your music. In the intro, we actually have our own Liz. That's part of her. One of her songs that she might be releasing. So if you want us to play your music in the intro, we'll shout you out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and shout out to the people that really commented and like really gave us feedback on last podcast.
Yeah.
We loved it.
I've never really experienced that. It was so nice.
It was awesome. Yeah, tell me about your day. How was your day today?
I had a really nice day.
Tell me about it. Tell me.
I really like our new church, and I never thought that I'd be able to say something like that, but I feel like we really stepped into this new season. You got a new job.
Yeah.
I got perspective on my music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been exciting. It's been an exciting, I would say, month.
Yeah, this podcast really kind of like sparked a bunch of like new life in us, I think.
Yeah. Haven't heard from our last podcast. We're in this space of rebuilding. In our last podcast, we kind of touched on it a little bit, like our story and what that looks like and why we're rebuilding. We were really hurt by a church, and it was hard for us to trust again and find a church. But we, in this season, like independently, and I think like I kind of felt it, you kind of felt it, and we kind of like at the same time, I think we were like eating pizza or something, and I was like, you were like, Steph, like we need to find a church.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was like, I know, like we need to find one. So we tried different churches and try to get plugged into different kind of young adult groups, and like we came to this one through our friend, and she brought us to her church, and like we loved it instantly.
We walked in, we felt safe. So for anybody who's looking for a church or is in that journey, I would say like the main thing, the way that you know that this is a place where you're supposed to be, is if you feel safe and you feel like home, and you'll know that feeling. Because I remember when we were trying to find a church, I'm like, I guess we could just settle here. Like, I can't really see myself being here, but I can see myself showing up. Right. That's not the point, guys. Find a place that like you love.
Yeah. And it can get discouraging and it can get taxing, and it can be like, well, is there a church that's going to fit what I'm looking for? And the answer is yes. Like this church is not perfect at all, but it does fit where we are in this season, and I can see myself being here in a long-term manner. Like I don't know what God has for me in the near future, but I can see myself at this church, like really learning, really growing, really serving. And like I'd never thought that I'd be able to say something like that again.
I know. I'm like baffled. I'm like, are you okay? Who are you?
Yeah, and a lot of people have said to me like, well, maybe this is just a romance period, and like every week I go and like there's like that hint of fear of like, ooh, like was I like romance? But every week I come home and I'm like excited to go to church again. Like I'm like, okay, Tuesday there's Bible study. I definitely want to go to Bible study. Thursday there's Bible study. I gotta go there, and then Saturday is this, and then Sunday, like I want to be there as much as possible. And I've never like it's been a really long time since I felt that sense of like, man, I just want to learn some more, and I want to be around those people, and I want to be under this pastor. Like it's been a very long time, so I'm so happy. Like I've never been this happy, especially like the new job that I'm starting. Like I feel like I'm finding like my niche.
It's like a whole new season for you. I'm so excited for you. And
I think like for anyone that's like discouraged in their season, like there is hope. Like there in our stories, there's hope, because I never thought that I would be here. Like I never thought I'd be in a place where I'm genuinely so happy about life and excited to learn about God. And like, this is the happiest and healthiest I've ever been. And I'm so excited. Like I'm genuinely like, I'm about to start crying. I'm always on the verge of tears. So if you want to know, I'm the emotional one of the group. I am always crying. Because it's been a long journey. It's been a wandering in the wilderness. That's what I feel. And I feel like I came out a little beat up and bruised, but I'm so excited to be in new lands, new pastures.
And I'm so excited to like meet new people through this podcast. I'm just really looking for it. Also, it just popped into my head. We could do prayer requests too. Like, we would love to come alongside you in praying for you. If you have anything, just hit us up. Like,
let us know what season you're in, and like if you have any questions. We've gotten like really good feedback from even leaders that are like, hey, like I have the same question, like how do I lead people to the hand of Jesus? Like you said this and I want to learn that. And I think like that's awesome. If you have questions or again like topics, we have people sending in topics that were like, hey, I'm in this season, like can you talk about this more? So like like if you have topics, if you have questions, prayer requests, music, like send it into us. We want to know. We want to pray with you. We want to come alongside you. We want to be there for you guys also. Kind of create friendship and community. If you guys like have prayer requests, have things that you want to talk about, you want to come on the show, you want to give your story, like,
or you just want to grab coffee and
you want to grab coffee and talk, like we're down. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're a musician, like you've had a lot of people like reach out to you because they really resonated with your story. Like Liz has a story, which we're going to share in the next few episodes. I don't know which one, but we're going to share like her story in the next few episodes. And I think a lot of musicians and artists are going to resonate with it. A lot of creative people are going to really resonate. So if you're a creative, like look out for that podcast, because I think it'll really help you like learning her journey. And if you're a minister in the church, a leader, if you are leading people,
hit Steph up.
Like let's talk about it, because again, like I'm pretty sure I can learn from your story and you can learn from mine. So I'm really, really excited about this church.
Yay.
This day was a really good day. Sundays are amazing.
Sundays are my favorite day, hands down.
My favorite day. Yeah. All right, let's get started. All right. So the topic that we're talking about today, which again, like is something that we really kind of we've thrown around like here and there, is this concept of, can your dream kill you? Right? Like that's the title of the topic. We all have a dream. We all have something that we're working towards, whether it's a goal or again, like whether it's a dream. But the topic that's up for discussion is this sense of, is pursuing that, can it actually kill you? Can it actually do more damage than good as you pursue the dream? And we're going to touch on specifically millennials. And like, just to kind of preface it, like we're millennials and I love millennials. I think we were listening to something that your mom sent us, and it was a video that talked about like millennials, like in the future. And like it had to do with denominations and stuff like that. But something that she said that was so interesting to me was that millennials are very independent thinkers.
Yes.
And like how they're challengers. Because they're independent thinkers, they're not going to just take things at face value, but they'll challenge it. So I love the millennial mind. I see myself in a lot of it. kind of like when it comes to like, no, I'm not going to take what you say at face value. Like I said last time, I'm going to filter it, right? I'm going to challenge that a little bit. I'm going to talk, I'm going to touch on, I'm going to press those buttons a little bit. And what I've learned is that a lot of millennials are like that.
Yes.
And again, like this podcast isn't to bash millennials. It's to start a conversation, because some people are going to, we were even talking about it, like preparing for this podcast, and me and you are on different kinds of like sides of the spectrum. What do you think about this topic? Like, can your dreams kill you?
Oh, 100%. Yes.
That's what you think?
Yeah.
What was it that you learned about the mind of a millennial in this generation? Like what makes them different from generations that came before us?
Well, 90% of millennials are actually entrepreneurs, which is really interesting to me.
Right.
And I think that specifically the millennial mind is very, what I've seen, just like in artistry, actually not even just in like artistry and anything, is like this millennial hustle, which I despise.
Yeah. Explain it to me. What's the millennial hustle?
Well, I don't even know if that's a saying. I kind of just came up with it.
We're coining it, the millennial hustle.
I'm coining it, the millennial hustle. Yeah, it's like this way of thinking that they have to like be successful by 22, which is how old I am. Like you have to start pursuing something like at 15 and like have your whole life like
planned.
At least that's what I've seen in the music industry. That's like what I'm talking about, because that's what I'm dealing with right now.
Right.
Is that whole mindset of people just like obsessing. Like if you're not working on your job or your craft 24/7, then you're lazy. And that's not true. I'm sorry, that's not true. I believe in doing things out of a place of rest. But then I'm like, am I not like a millennial? Because I don't think like that. I'm very like, I'm just gonna take it day by day, see how I'm feeling that day. If I'm feeling this like need to create, then I'll create. If I'm not, then I don't push it. And that's almost something that is like despised in like the millennials, I feel.
I kind of have a question there. Do you think that the educational system has a play in that millennial hustle? Because I remember as a kid having to write essays that are like, where do you see yourself in 20 years? And I remember thinking like, I had to write an essay on this. And I remember thinking like, I don't know. So do you think like part of it has to do with like education, technology? And again, like all these things are good. I don't think that any of these things are bad. Like I don't think that it's wrong to work for your dream. Like please don't misunderstand it. I think that it's a beautiful thing, but I think that what it requires is a balance.
Balance is so key, and it's like not a thing anymore, I feel.
It's either you're either all in on this end or you're not working at all.
You're either hustling or you're lazy. Like they only put you in those two categories. And I think that's so unhealthy. I get nervous talking about this because I know people aren't going to agree with me, and that makes me so nervous, and I hate when people disagree with me, but it's okay.
But I think the thing is like, let's start a conversation. Like that's my whole thing. Like I think it's
disagree.
It's learning to like be okay with someone that's like, I don't agree with that. But again, like I'm not speaking for the whole majority of the millennial generation, but the people that we've dealt with. Like as a young adult pastor, I've dealt with a lot of young adults. And the people that I've dealt with, especially in this area, right? Because it depends on the area.
It does. It depends on where you grow up.
It depends on culture. It depends on all that stuff. It depends on family dynamic. Like I'm learning that now. Like I have a teaching job, and in part of my training is like understanding that when you're teaching them according to like, there's different things that play into it, like a family dynamic, culture, where are they growing up economically, like things like that all play into like how a person pursues a dream or a job or anything like that. Like for me, my parents taught me like, if you want this, you need to work for it. You get what I'm saying? It was like, I'm not going to buy it for you unless it's a Christmas gift. And like, not that my parents were wrong in that. I think that they were just trying to instill in me. Like, it wasn't a harsh thing. It was just like, Stephanie, in order for you to get where you need to get, it's going to take you to work. It's going to take you to study, and it's going to take you to do these necessary things. Whereas the young adults that I've dealt with up here, that's a very foreign concept.
A very sheltered mindset. Which is okay. I just think that, like, again, like, dependent on where you grow up, like nature versus nurture, what is a natural thing for a millennial
millennial to think and what was nurtured in them all play into the pursuit of whether or not the dream can kill you.
I agree 100%.
Does that make sense?
I agree with that, yeah.
Because you have the ones on one side of the spectrum that are like, I'm just trying to make it out. I'm just trying to make a life for myself. And like in doing a study, like it was like some government, whatever, that kind of did a study on baby boomers, Gen Z, Gen X, like all these generations, millennials. And what they were saying about millennials is that the highest rate for depression and therapy is found in the millennial generation. Yep. Because what's happening is that they want to be so successful and they want so much money and they want like all these things is what's driving a good chunk of millennials. And I'm not talking about Christians. We'll get into Christian millennials in a second. I'm talking about as a whole outside of the church, the millennial generation. The study says is that because that's what they're pushing and they're striving for, they're getting into debt because they're going in for majors that can make them the most money. And it's not necessarily that they want to do. Does that make sense? It's not something that they're designed to do. So we'll get into that, like the difference between dream and calling. Like what is the difference? Those are two different things. You get what I'm saying? But what happens is that a millennial will get into a major or whatever, and we've learned it. There's a lot of people that we've talked to that are like, we went to school for business, but like I think I'm supposed to be a pastor. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, well, I just spent money, like a 4-year degree, 5-year degree doing this, and I don't want to do that. Yeah. You got what I'm saying? And it was all because it's like, how can I be successful? Like my parents said I had to make money. My parents said, boom, 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 boom. So I'm pursuing this and now we're in debt. They're depressed because they're in a job that doesn't satisfy. It makes money, but it doesn't satisfy. But the success is like, I want to be successful. I want to make money.
Right. And I think that's also another part of this topic is like, what is success measured by now in the millennial mind? Because is it money? Is it your peers respecting you? Yeah. Is it genuine happiness? Like, what is success?
Right. I don't know if it's genuine happiness. I think what it is I'll work until I can enjoy life. Does that make sense? So I'll work and I'll get the respect of everyone. I'll get the money. I'll get the success. I'll get it all. And then once I have all of that is when I can enjoy life. Again, there's no balance. It's like I'm going to kill myself and then later on enjoy like what I've been working for. Right. Does that make sense? But then you have the other side of the spectrum where they're just like, I don't like, this is too hard and I'm not doing it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something that we talked about where you brought up like instant gratification, like, where it was like, what was it that it brought up like
dopamine?
The dopamine. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when it comes to things, cause I think social media plays a massive, like technology plays a massive role in this type of mindset. Right. So what do you mean by instant gratification?
Like, I think it's like, I need to get this right here, right now. And if I don't get it right here, right now, I'm not working at it.
Oh, right,
like,
right.
So it's like, it's seen as laziness, but really what it is like,
this fear of like not doing something good to get the result that you want, which is my issue.
Right.
I get so overwhelmed by the thought of like, things taking time, right? Because I'm such a person of like, I just want it to be perfect right now, right? And I get so overwhelmed by that mentality that I'm like, you know what? I'm not even gonna do it, right? Like, I'm not gonna do it. Yeah. But that's not how life works, right? Like, life works that every day you at least do something to the goal that you like, something that adds to the goal that you want to achieve. Yeah. And I feel like that's something that wasn't really taught from schooling, at least in my scenario. Right. But the instant gratification thing is that on Instagram, or like Twitter, Facebook, getting a notification, that little ping, or getting a text message, it actually releases the dopamine, the chemical dopamine in your brain, which is the same thing as doing drugs, gambling, and drinking. Wow. It's the same exact chemical that's released in your brain from doing those things, which are highly addictive, right, are being done through social media.
Right. And again, we're not saying that social media is bad.
No,
if
I love
anything,
social media.
We love, like, we believe that God can use social media,
Yeah.
and God has used social media to push the kingdom forward. But there's a lot, like anything, there's a lot of cons as there is pros.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And one of the cons is that dopamine that's released. And so what happens is that we develop a habit of
this
like
instant gratification.
Right. And so it's like, if I don't get it right here, right now, if it's not successful, and this is something that we struggled with when we were building the church, was, okay, like, no one wanted to put in the work because it wasn't perfect right off the bat.
Right.
And the ones that did want to put in the work were the older generation, because they're used to that, right? But like, they don't like this mindset of things evolve with time. I remember your dad used to say that to us all the time, where he's like, you can't get success overnight. You need to let it evolve. And that was like such a weird concept. We were like, what do you mean? Like, no, like, if I'm good at it, it's gonna happen, you know? And and that was something that he really taught us. Like, when we would sit with him, he would be like, listen, success does not happen overnight. It takes time. And I think like that's such a great principle in growing something, when it's a great principle in life in general.
So I think that's where almost in a sense the millennial hustle comes from, is, well, I know that things take time. How do I cut that time in half?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Let me get it done. And then maybe it'll cut it in half, and like, okay, cool. Then I got my goal sooner than I wanted it. And that's great, as long as I get it. Like,
right. Someone said to me once, they were like, Stephanie, work smarter, not harder. And it's this concept of like, don't work hard, just be smart about it. You know, if you can have somebody write your essays, do that. You know what I mean? If you can have somebody, like, it was a twisted concept, but it's this, and it just came to me when you're saying that, like Steph, like, do what you can to get ahead. Like, be smart about it. Like, don't work harder than you need to, which again, in a sense, I understand that. Like don't put as, like, don't, you know, like, don't make it harder for yourself than it needs to be. Like, I understand that concept, but it was like said in a way of like, you know, be smart about these things. Like, if you could get ahead by cutting corners, do it that way, because it'll get you ahead quicker. And I remember being like, I don't know if I agree with that, but okay. Like, sure. You know what I mean?
I'll bring my dad for example, because he's a successful businessman. My dad owns 2 auto body shops, and he loves to talk about his business. So shout out to you, Dad. This is your whole life. All my learnings from you is coming into this moment right now. Millennials don't like the thought of having to start from the bottom.
Right.
I think that that's an issue, and I think that a lot of different things have played into that. But how my dad became successful, and he'll tell you this every day if he has to, is that he started from he saw his dream. He saw that, I know I can do this thing, but I know that what requires of me is to sweep the floors before I can even own a body shop.
Right.
Before I can even work on a car.
Right.
Like, he had the gifting.
Right.
He had the passion, he had the drive, but he had that to a point where he was like, you know what? Just the fact that I can be in this building and be around cars and learn from people by sweeping the floors, I will do it, anything for my dream.
Right.
And he made his way all the way up, and the person gave the business to him.
Right.
That's insane.
Right.
But he showed dedication.
Right. He worked.
Passion, and he worked.
He learned.
But he didn't, it wasn't like his mentality was like, I know that this is what I have to do to get my dream.
Right.
And he wasn't trying to rush it. He's like, no, in time, because it also does come to, if you are a Christian, like, no, I know God has called me to this. I know that this is a dream, and I know that God is for my dreams, just like how I'm for my dreams. I know that if I put in the work, and if I put in the time, that like I will achieve that dream. So
yeah, and I think like to jump into like the topic of millennials in the church, because like right now what we're talking about is a broad scope of millennials.
It's so big.
This topic is so huge. Like, we were even debating like, ooh, should we talk about this topic, because it's such a big, there's so many components.
Things,
and again, like, there's so many things at play: culture, family dynamics, like schooling, like, were you in private school or public school? What kind of education system did you have? Like, there's so much that goes into it. Were your families Christians, or were they not Christians. Like what was the dynamic there? Were they Hispanic? Were they African American? Were they Caucasian? Were you in a suburban area, or were you in the projects? Like all of these things. Did you have mentors? Did you have, you got what I'm saying? Like all these things play into the design of a millennial. Then it's when were you exposed to technology? When were you exposed to social media? Were you exposed to it at an early age or as you grow older? Like you get what I mean? And so do you have a college education? Do you not have a college? So like our point is this is like, we understand that there's so much that plays into this topic, but from our experience with millennials, what we've seen is this, what we're talking about, this point of, yeah, like in a sense, Liz believes that in a sense, yes, it can kill you.
It can. Not in a sense, it can.
Yeah.
And I stand in that.
That's so hard for you.
Wait, what's hard for me?
To be like, I stand on that.
No, you know what? I'm going to stand on this. I believe in it.
Yeah, okay. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over here.
Oh, please don't throw me in the fire. I can't do that. No. I'm Daniel. Where was Daniel? Where was Daniel?
My man was in the lion's den.
Oh, shit.
Like, what you mean?
Which one's worse?
That's what I'm saying. Okay, we're not getting into that. We are not getting into that. My point is this, is that we have, like, when it comes to like the success of things, we've talked to certain people that have amazing ideas, that it's something that they're called into, I'm like, man, that would benefit the church and that would benefit the king. They're Christians, that would benefit the kingdom of God so much. But the reason why they don't pursue that is because of money and success. That's not going to make me any money, so I'm not going to go that route.
That's kind of psycho that you were just saying that, because I don't know why I said psycho. Just came out. We'll go with it. But
you know that song that goes like, na 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 na.
Ooh, no, sweetie.
You know the one that's like,
no,
a little bit psycho.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm
Is that
about?
Marina and the Diamonds? I don't know.
Look ahead. That's what that's the song that came into my
mind. Like, don't sing again.
If you ever want me to sing your songs, I will do a cover.
No. More like a parody.
All right, go ahead, go.
Because yesterday I was having that conversation with my mom when it came to music, because I was having a mental breakdown, as I do once a week. And I was like, Mom, I don't want to dedicate my time and energy into this thing if I'm not going to make money off of it.
Right.
But then I'm telling her 5 minutes later, Mom, I don't care if I make money off of this. I just want to do it because I love it. And she's like, okay.
Shout out
mom. My poor mom. She's
Shout
like,
out Sue.
You need to stop that. I'm like, you're right.
I know, I heard. I was like, I'm gonna go take a bath.
But no, that's like totally a thing.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, I don't like, and I think that's the other thing, that if you ask any like older generation person, they're so frustrated.
You need to stop.
They're so frustrated with the millennial generation, because it's like, what's going to make me money and what am I called to? And I think that's like kind of what I wanted to touch on a little bit, was like, there is a difference, I believe, between your dream and your calling. I think that those two things can be very different. Now, I believe that your dream can have some type of tidbits of your calling in it, but like, I think that they're two separate things. That's why I have a hard time with the whole, can your dream kill you? Because I think I don't know if it's because it's like, it's your calling. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, if it's aligned with your calling, then I don't know if I agree if it kills you. So like, here's my example.
Yeah,
like I can have a dream of writing a book one day, but my calling is to be a mom. Not saying that I won't write a book, but my calling is as a mother. Does that make sense? Or like, I can, like, for example, we have somebody who's in business. We know somebody that's in business, but their calling is to open up a rec center for young adults. You get what I'm saying? And it's like, no, like, I won't pursue that. And like, they're very again, entrepreneur mindset, like business. So why don't you use that background to aid in your calling? I think that's the difference. If we can get like people or like millennials to understand like this is your purpose, this is your calling, right? Like you can't run away from it, right? I believe in, like you said, doing things that aid in your calling. Does that make sense? Like taking dreams, like, okay, I'll put it like this. I have a dream to go to outer space one day.
Okay.
It's a dream of mine to be an astronaut, but is that my calling? So that's what I'm saying. So would I pursue my dream in being an astronaut, or am I going to pursue my calling, like my design, my destiny? And I think like that's the thing, is that what happens as in the church is that millennials pursue a dream that's apart from the calling, and they ask God to bless the dream.
Got it.
Does that make sense? And so what happens is what I've seen is that millennials are getting frustrated and they're wasting money. They're in debt. They're in all these things because they're pursuing a dream, not necessarily the calling.
Right. So like, for example, one of my dreams is to one day like be able to collaborate with like a makeup company,
right,
and like come out with a makeup palette. And then another one of my dreams is to collaborate with like,
right,
not Balmain,
like a fashion,
but yeah, like fashion. Balmain would be the dream, because
right, and that's fine
to collaborate with them, but that's not my calling.
Right. And so the thing is that as a Christian, you're going to pursue fashion.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
And do you get what I'm saying? And
yeah,
I think that's what kills. And like, along with not learning balance of like everything evolves in time. Like that's the conversation that me and you had when we were talking about your music, where I was like, Liz, things will evolve. You have to give it time to evolve.
And that's the issue with the millennial mind. We don't like that. We want the instant gratification, the dopamine chemical to be released right away,
right here, right now. So that's why I'm like, I don't know, because if you have a millennial that is pursuing the call that God has on their life, you get what I'm saying, that is taking their dream. Like I desire to write a book one day, but like, and I know that that's going to be a part of my calling, but it's not something that I'm pursuing. Like I'm not pursuing being a writer. I'm not pursuing, but it is a dream of mine to have written a book.
And you will.
Right. And but like the thing is, it's not my calling. So it's not something that I'm going to actively pursue. It's something that I know in time, with aligning with my calling, that it will happen.
Right.
That's
I think
part
the
of the calling.
Okay. So I think I understand what you're saying. Like a dream is more just for you. Right. And a calling is you impacting people, but also coming alive.
Yes, it's bigger than you. Yeah. And I think like that's the thing. Like what is your purpose? What is your calling? And I think like that's kind of been like in my rebuilding process, like something that the Lord dropped in my heart is like, Steph, like what makes you experience me more? One of the best advice that I've ever gotten from a pastor was like, Steph, like when you're pursuing your call, it should bring out the best of you, and you should experience the best of who God is. And like that there is key. You know what I mean? Like, am I experiencing God in this, or is it killing me? Because I was pursuing a dream, and like, was I experiencing the best of God? No, I wasn't. Was it bringing out the best? This is 5 years. You know what I'm saying? I'm pursuing this dream that I believe like, okay, I'm called to bigger. I'm called to all these things. There were all these whatever promises, whatever. And like, it's like, okay, I'm pursuing that. Right. So I went to school for it. I did all these things around that dream of bigger than myself. You know what I'm saying? But like, but I was miserable. You know what I mean? And like, and that's what kills you. You get what I'm saying? Like, is it something you have to make sure, like what I'm putting time, energy, money, like into, what I'm investing into, is it my calling? And like, and my advice is this, and like, I gave this advice to somebody the other day where they were like, should I go back to school? Should I get a job? And I said, well, will it aid in your calling? Because what happens is this, and this is something that I've learned in the research that I've done, is that millennials inside and out of the church, they have what's called interim jobs. So it's like I get out of college and I kind of have like an in the middle job, like, and I'll wait for like maybe sometime, like I'll go towards something that I want to do with my life. And so they sit here in this interim job, and it's like they never actually take the step into their calling or their dream. Does that make sense? So they end up dying in that space where it's like everything dies there, because they're just like in the sense of like waiting, and they don't know like how to actually pursue or step or this and that. And so my advice is, whatever job you choose, let it be an aid or something that you can learn and take with you as your calling evolves. Does that make sense?
Like right now, the job that you took, it's not your necessarily like your calling,
right?
But it will definitely aid 100%. In your calling. Like you'll 100%. Learn a lot from that, from that experience,
right? And I could have taken other jobs,
sure.
Right? And I think that was this time around, which I've done. Like I've worked retail, I've worked cleaning houses, I've worked all these different jobs where at the moment were great, but it didn't aid in my calling. And I think this time around when I was looking for a job, like I was like, no, like whatever I'm going to do, it's going to be something that's going to help me with what God has called me to do. I'm going to learn, I'm going to mature, my character is going to grow, I'm going to get feedback from other people are going to pour into my life, I'm going to grow mentally, I'm going to grow in my like in education, I'm just going to grow. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's going to help me be better at what God has called me to do. And that's when I think when you can align the two, again, balance the two out, like again with like enjoying life and like stuff like that, like when you can figure out that balance for your life, I don't think the dream kills you.
Yeah, no, if it's balanced,
right?
Yeah, for sure,
right.
Which, yeah.
Does that make sense? What I like? Well, what I'm kind of getting at right now.
Yeah. So there's a difference between a dream and a calling.
There is. Yeah. I personally think there is, and I want to hear like what everyone else thinks. Like some people may say no. Like Steph, I think the dream and the calling are the same thing. I don't even think that there's such thing as a dream and a calling.
Yeah.
Like I want to hear like what people have to say about this. Like what it means to put in work, and what it means to find balance in working and learning not to work. When is the time that you put the phone down? When do you put the computer away? Yeah. When do you do that? Because I think the other thing is like, and I'm going to speak to Christians, because because a millennial that's not a Christian is not going to understand this. Like Christians, millennials in general have this fear of time. I'm running out of time. And this is something we talked about. You're like, I'm 22 years old. I'm running out of time.
I have no time left.
Yeah, that's what you would say, Steph. I have no time left. And even like people who aren't married, which we'll get into singleness in one of the episodes, where it's like, Steph, like I'm running out of time. I'm running out of time. You know what I'm saying? Like, am I going to be 35 and married? Like I'm running out of time. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's important to find peace that the author of time is who is directing your steps.
Right.
The God that created time, the God that time bows to, is directing your steps, right? The steps of a righteous man are ordered by God. That is such an important verse, right? Your steps are ordered by God. God is more committed to your future than you are, right? He who's done a good work will see it, is faithful enough to see it to completion. That's important. Yeah. Right? Like he will see it to completion. He started it, so he'll complete it.
Yeah. So I have a question then. Do you think your calling can kill you?
No. No, that's my whole stance. Oh. I think your dream apart from your calling, yes, can kill you. Your calling, I don't believe can kill you, because it's aligned with what the Father wants. I think that if you don't relinquish control and like in immaturity and like pursuing your calling apart from God can kill you. Absolutely. I think anything apart from God can kill you. You know what I'm saying? And I think too much of something can kill you. I think
the wrong mentality,
immaturity, emotions. I think all of that can aid in killing, like, and when we say kill you, I don't mean like there's a knife in your heart dead. I mean like it's like you're depressed and like you don't enjoy life anymore. Everything is pessimism. Everything sucks. It's like that mentality, like you just don't know how to live. You know what I'm saying? I think like that mentality is a killing. It's a death breathing mentality. You know what I'm saying?
I think it can kill you with like the wrong perspective. Like this week, no, not really this week, this month, like I know I'm called to do music. I know it ever since I was a child, and no matter how many times I try to run away from it, I'm like Jonah. Right. That's how I feel. But like my mentality for the past month has been so unhealthy towards it, and it was killing me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. But again, okay, so here's my counter to that. In that moment, were you inviting God in on that?
Absolutely not.
Right. So that's my whole point.
No. Okay. Yeah.
Like, that's my whole point. Like, anything apart from God will absolutely kill you. If you are not inviting God in on the process of your calling evolving.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? It's the same thing with rebuilding. I can rebuild apart from God and then invite God in on the rebuilding process, and he will undo everything that I saw fit in that rebuilding process. Now, if I invite God in on the rebuilding process, guess what? It'll go a lot smoothly.
So how do you invite God into your calling and your dream? Well,
I think of it like this. I think, one, the first step is figuring out what exactly is your calling. So, okay, I'm called to be, so that's a conversation that you and the Father have, and you and your pastors and your mentors will have.
Yeah.
Because I remember asking one of the pastors that I consider like a mom to me. And I said to her, like, do you believe I'm called into ministry? And like, I was ready for the answer, like yes or no. Like, I was willing to take it. And her response to me was like, yes, but not right now. You get what I'm saying? Like, right now, this is what needs to happen right now. So I think, like, inviting people in, like, voices that hear from the Lord, wisdom, in on your life that are like, this is what you need, this is what you're called to, and this is the necessary steps to get to your calling. And that's what I believe is the fault with the millennial generation, because we're such independent thinkers. Wisdom and heeding wisdom from the generation that came before us is so hard for us to do, because we think we got it, and we think that the older generation did wrong.
Everything wrong.
Right. And so instead of us walking in the paths that they've paved, not that they were 100% correct, because there's some things that I don't agree with the older generation. Again, not that they're 100% correct. What millennials do is we'll go, no, I'm going to create my own path. So we'll struggle, we'll fight, and we'll do all these different things. And you know what I'm saying? When we don't need to do that. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? Like, that was already done. Just walk this way. So I think your first step is finding what is your calling. Get wisdom, get perspective from people that are older than you, and get perspective from your peers. That's important. That's why community is so important, because you can see stuff in me and other people can see stuff in me that I'm not necessarily seeing. Gain perspective. That's number one. Number two is Father, whatever I'm giving my time and energy to, like, let it be something that you're blessing, right? It's a learning the voice of the Father, which, again, it's important to know the voice of your Father. Pray, read your word. You know what I'm saying? Spend time like learning his voice, communing with him. Your spirit knows if you're believing, if you believe in Jesus Christ, like, and if you don't, we can do a salvation prayer. It's a service.
Oh my God, you did not.
My point is that, like, you know your Father's voice. Your spirit can attest to it. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? You know when you're doing something and you're headed towards something, or you're giving time and energy, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job opportunity, whatever it is, you feel this like inside of you, like, oh, I'm not supposed to be doing this. You get what I'm saying? So you know the Father's voice. So it's literally like relearning the sensitivity to what the Father is saying, right? If you look in the Bible, the way Jesus lived his life was what he says, I only do what I see my Father in heaven doing. You get what I'm saying? It was this learning of his Father in heaven. I think that that's something that the millennial generation needs to come back to for the sake of the church, right? This sense of prayer, this sense of fasting, the sense of, Lord, what are you saying? What are you doing? You know what I mean? I think that things would go by a lot easier. So I think those are ways to invite God in on the process of learning your calling and letting it evolve in a beautiful way, because I don't think it's supposed to be stressful. No. Like, I don't think it's like,
no
okay,
striving,
like,
don't need to strive.
Right. Like, one of the most powerful lessons that I've learned is Jesus never strived.
Like, he never ran.
He never like, if you read the Bible, like, it says like the difference between strive and stride. So strive, STRIVE, and stride with a D, STRIDE. And it was, Jesus never ran anywhere. He walked. Like nowhere in the Bible do you see Jesus is running to the next miracle. It says that he walked from town to town. You get what I'm saying? That. So it was this mentality of 30 years of preparation, right? Jesus had 30 years to learn his Father's voice, to learn all these things that he learned, to mature, whatever, and 3 years of ministry.
Yeah, nowadays if that were the case, they probably would have called him lazy.
Right.
They would have been like, you're not doing what you're called to be doing. Like, aren't you the Messiah?
Right. And even like, you even see the people around him, like Mary, like, okay, Jesus, like, let them know who you are. Like the first miracle that Jesus does with the turning the water into wine. Everyone says it as in like no one sees that Mary there is like, okay, like let them know. Yeah, like, come on. They think I'm crazy. Like, come on, just do it in front of it. And Jesus's response is, women, my hour has not come. Now in the Garden of Gethsemane, what does Jesus say? He goes, Lord, my hour has come. Why does he say that? Because he said, now it's time for me to complete the calling that you've called me to complete. You get what I'm saying? So there have been moments where Jesus repeated that phrase, my hour has not yet come. And now to people in this day and age, it's like, no, but like time is running out. Time is running out.
Another issue with, I wouldn't say issue. It's another thing that the millennial has is that we have this deep burning desire to impact.
Right.
Everything. We walk into Starbucks, we're like, how can I impact? Okay. How can I make a difference?
Can I say something? This is where me and you kind of like have a little like
oh no, I'm nervous.
Little tuffle, because I don't think that's necessarily wrong.
No, I don't think it's wrong. Let me gather my thoughts.
I think without maturity, that can be dangerous.
Right. Okay.
Go ahead.
Because you think that way.
Go ahead. No,
you think that way where you were at this cleaning place, right? You were working. You were doing great. Great job, sweetie. Get the money and go home. And you're like, how can I impact? How can I impact? I'm not changing anything. Oh my God, I'm doing everything wrong. I'm like, whoa, chill.
But is that wrong?
Yeah, because I think you're striving for something that you're not supposed to be impacting.
But am I created to make an impact in the...
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, you're created to make an impact. We're all created to make an impact. Okay. But I think in a place of striving and being like, oh, is something wrong if I'm not if something's not changing and you're getting upset and you're getting annoyed, like that's when it's an issue. Like, why are you striving to change the world? Like,
I don't know if it's that I was striving to change. I wouldn't say that I was striving.
Okay.
I would say that I feel that I'm designed to change lives.
Right, but when you're not changing lives in the way that you want to change lives, you get upset with yourself and you start to hate yourself and you start to look inward and be like, there's something wrong with me. What am I doing wrong? Like, it's like, no.
So again, there needs to be maturity.
Balance.
There needs to be balance. There needs to be an understanding. Like, listen, not everyone is going to receive what you have to say or receive you. And that's something that I had to learn.
That's hard.
Yeah. Like Jesus was not received in his hometown. So he could only do a few miracles. You got what I'm saying? So not everyone received Jesus, but I think again, like it's this mentality of like, well, why wouldn't somebody receive me? Like I'm funny. Like like I'm funny. I'm like personable. Like you got what I'm saying? Like this is what I have to offer. How dare you not see it? And again, like immaturity plays into that, like insecurities, like egos, like there's so much that can kind of play into that kind of mentality. But again, I don't think it's necessarily wrong to walk into a room and be like again, I think if you walk in it with a humble attitude, I think if you walk into a room and you're like, I'm going to change the atmosphere, like, oh, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that could be dangerous because like, it ain't you, dog. Like you're not changing nothing. Like I could without Holy Spirit, I'm not changing a fly. Like there is nothing, like nothing's changing. You get what I mean? But understanding that I have a dependency on Holy Spirit, again, knowing the Father's voice. Like I'm created to make change. I'm created to teach people. I'm created to give insight and wisdom. But without Holy Spirit aiding, without God in on that, it could become very dangerous. Prideful, superhero complex can come into
Which
play.
Is why I think like time is so important.
Right.
It's like the ultimate ego breaker.
Yeah. It is, yeah. And I think also, again, having a balance of people in your life, having people that are older than you. And again, not every person is designed to speak into your life. I have very minimal people that I allow to speak into my life. Yeah. People give me their advice, like, because they feel like they need to give me their advice. But I'm telling you right now, out of every person that gives me advice, I maybe take one or two from the people that I'm like, okay, from the older generation that I'm like, okay, like, this is something that I know is feeding me.
Right.
This is something that I know is building me up, that's encouraging my spirit. Not, Steph, you need to fix it. And that's the thing, is like, you need to fix this, you need to fix this, you need to fix this, like a list of things that I need to fix, when it's like, no, like, let the Father do a work in my heart, encourage me to fix these things, encourage me in where I'm strong, and encourage me in where I need to grow a little bit. Like, again, like one of the pastors that I speak to, like what she said to me was like, Steph, you're called into ministry, but you need to heal some more. Like, you need to sit a little bit more. You need to learn a little bit more. You know what I mean? It could be dangerous if you don't. Like, that to me is an encouragement. You got what I'm saying? Because it's like, it doesn't sting my heart. It's not like, oh, like, while I'm wasting time. It's like, oh, okay, I understand that when I'm healed, I'll be more successful. You got what I'm saying? If I heed this is going to help aid me. So again, I think, yes, like, where millennials have this desire to impact. They have this thing that it could be like the thing that's inside of them that can push things forward. Yeah. I think that the millennial generation is a very progressive generation, and it's great. But I think what happens is that because they don't have older generation people speaking into their life, peers that want the best for them speaking into their life, and the Father adding it on that, all those dynamics help you in it not killing you. Yeah. Does that make sense? So I think, like, I don't know, like, do you believe a dream can kill you? I believe a dream without the Father can kill you.
Yeah, that's what I agree with that.
Okay. Shake hands.
Oh my God, not that this was a debate or anything, but just a little look into my poor little mind. When I was in school and you would be forced to debate, I would just go to the bathroom and stay in the bathroom the whole time.
Weren't you afraid that they thought like you had like
No,
issues?
I didn't care. Who says tummy?
I didn't want to be like...
No, I did not care anything to get me out of the debate.
That's so funny.
I hate debates.
That's so
hate
funny.
When people disagree with me. It makes me nervous.
Again, I think that it's something that we need to learn as a generation.
Yeah, no, and I don't mean like offended. I mean like it makes me nervous because I feel like when people disagree, they almost go into like attack mode.
They do.
And that's what makes me nervous. It's not so much the fact that you disagree with me. Like, that's cool. Like, you can disagree with me, but please don't attack me because I'm nervous.
I'm just a little girl. And
I'm really, really nervous.
Yeah. All right. Well,
it's over.
Do you want to? I don't have anything else to add.
Yeah, me either.
All right. Yeah. So I think like, again, like we want to hear from you guys. Like, what do you think about this? Especially millennials. I would love to hear what their input is. Like, are you on the spectrum of like, one side where it's like hustle to like get the dream and then I'll enjoy life? Are you on the spectrum of like, well, if it's not instant, that I'm not working at it? Or are you on the spectrum of like, I'm in the middle where I'm learning my calling and I'm trying to evolve? And like,
people are so scared of that word, but it's okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, I think it's a good word. It's like confrontation. Healthy confrontation is good. Not every confrontation is good, but if you have healthy confrontation, that's good.
Sorry to cut you off. Keep
going.
No.
Yeah, don't let it happen again. I'm just kidding.
Okay. Okay.
I'm kidding. Yeah, so I think like we want to hear from you. Like, where are you on the spectrum? What are your thoughts on this topic? Like, can your dream kill you? And even older generation, like, what are your thoughts? I think that the older generation is pretty much fed up with the millennial. I'll say this.
I think they hate us.
I'll say this. Your sister thinks that all millennials are punks.
But she's a millennial.
But she doesn't identify. But she doesn't identify as a millennial, which is fine. Like, not all millennials identify. But I'll tell you this. Me and your sister got into a heated.
Oh my God, we have to get Sam on here.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Me and your sister just went for it, and it was such a funny conversation. And it's like we ended up saying the same thing at the end, but we were still arguing because we were still so heated. But she thinks that all millennials are babies. So let's hear from you, Sam. We want
Oh No.
Yeah, Sam goes in on millennials. But I think it's important to understand the mind. And I think that was like the argument that I was having with her. Like, Sam, you don't know the mind of a millennial. Like, you need to understand everything that plays into it. And she was like, no. You know how you're sitting there, no. So we love Sam. Shout out, Sam. So like, again, like, where are you? Do you agree? Like, again, like, if you're an older generation, it's important to understand, like, this is a completely different culture.
Yeah.
We are exposed to a lot more than the older generation was. And yeah, there's a lot that plays into it, and learning that will help you understand either your young adult more, or even if you're a pastor for young adult groups, I suggest if you are a pastor for young adult groups, you better learn and read up on the millennials. Yeah. You better learn and read up on the millennial mind, understand their culture, their family dynamics, understand all of that, like their economic status, like all of that plays in. So yeah, we want to hear from you guys. We love you guys.
Make sure to like and subscribe the video, share it if you want to, and follow us on our Instagrams. We'll link them down below.
Yeah. We love you guys, and we'll see you guys next week.